Hey guys, so today I'm gonna react to a Reddit post about Zelensky, how Zelensky, who's the president of Ukraine, rejected Trump's so-called peace deal that will force Ukraine to give up land to Russia without their consent, even though Russia's the one who started this whole recent war with Ukraine. Doesn't make sense, right? But that's what happens when you vote. Vote has consequences, and Trump, it doesn't really care. He's not really supporting someone that makes more sense, which would be Ukraine at this point. You know, he should be supporting Ukraine, just like he should be supporting Palestinians in Gaza and not Israel, who's committing genocide of Palestinians.
Шановні українці, українки, президент Трамп оголосив про підготовку своєї зустрічі з Путіним на Алясці, дуже далеко від цієї війни, яка триває на нашій землі проти нашого народу, яку все одно не закінчити без нас. Без
It really sucks to have a situation like in Ukraine and you're the president there, and then you have a country that was helping you, and then they'll hold 180 for certain things and trying to force it to just give up land to Russia, even though they're the one who started this recent war with Ukraine. It's a tough situation.
з України. Путін не вірив в наших людей, тому ухвалив це своє безнадійне рішення спробувати взяти Україну. Це було його головною помилкою не зважати на українців. Я вірю в наших людей, бо українці сильні, українці захищають своє. Багато хто в світі став на бік України за час війни. Навіть ті, хто з Росією знають, що вона чинить зло. Звісно, ми не дамо Росії нагороду за зроблене.
I agree with Zelensky. You know, if someone went, destroy my neighborhood, right? So bombing my neighborhood, try to take the land and try to take over my house or destroy it. You think I would just stand by and just give up and here's everything. You know, they might just kill me anyway, but I'm giving up. You can't have everything. Of course not. I'll fight back. So it makes sense that Ukraine is fighting back instead of just purely giving up everything to Russia. It's not fair.
Український народ заслуговує на мир, але всі партнери мають розуміти, що таке достойний мир. Цю війну треба закінчувати, і Росія має її закінчити. Росія її почала без затягу, не слухаючи ніяких дедлайнів. Саме це проблема, а не щось інше.
And I agree. Russians initiated this recent war with Ukraine just when we're about to be done with like a whole pandemic. Then he started this war, Putin, and now instead of Trump supporting Ukraine and putting pressure on Russia, aka Putin, to just stop the war, he's not doing that. He's trying to kiss Russia's ass, which doesn't make sense to me. So obviously, this is very frustrating. I can only imagine the stress that Zelensky is dealing with, and even more so for people who are just the regular folks, the regular Ukrainian citizens dealing with bombs, destroying the cities and killing their families, etc. It's a very tough time.
Відповідь на українське територіальне питання є вже в Конституції України. Відступати від цього ніхто не буде і не зможе. Дарувати свою землю окупанту українці не будуть.
I find just something a little bit off topic. I find interesting that certain words I can't understand what he's saying, even without even reading the subtitle, because it's similar to Portuguese, which is my native tongue, or native language. So just thought that was interesting.
Україна готова до реальних рішень, які можуть дати мир. Будь-які рішення, які проти нас, будь-які рішення, які без України, вони одночасно рішення проти миру. Вони нічого не дадуть. Це мертві рішення. Вони ніколи не спрацюють. А нам усім потрібен реальний живий мир. Тоді люди будуть поважати. Ми готові разом з президентом Трампом, разом з усіма нашими партнерами працювати заради реального.
So Zelensky basically is explaining what Ukraine has been trying to do. He's been working with Biden before and now with Trump to end this war, but nothing's really been done. Trump himself could put pressure on Russia, but he's not. And instead of working together with Ukraine to make Russia just stop the war and stop trying to take over land that belongs to Ukraine, Trump is not doing that. And all Ukraine wants is make sure they don't lose land to Russia. So, Russia occupying parts of Ukraine, making it even smaller, now losing their land. And just wants Russia to stop the war that they initiated this time around, at least. So why not just end the war and stop trying to take over land that doesn't belong to a country? This type of colonizing, conquering mentality is a problem, and Europe has been doing this for centuries.
І головне тривалого миру. Миру, який не розвалиться через бажання Москви. Я дякую всім нашим людям за те, що ми разом, Україна є. Дякую всім нашим воїнам за те, що ми зберегли незалежність. Стійте міцно. Це наша земля. Ми це Україна. Слава Україні!
Yeah, it's definitely a tough situation. I do feel bad for Ukrainians, even more so for the Palestinians in Gaza who are dealing with a whole genocide by Israel. But and the people also dealing with not genocide in Sudan, in Africa. So it's so many places, so many parts of this world is just tons and tons of genocide and murder and sexual assaults. It's just really sad. And this constant warmongers who just cannot be satisfied. Even though they already have biggest country, they cannot have enough. It's a big issue. And I really would love to have a national US president that gives a shit, who cares about the Palestinians, who cares about the Ukrainians, the regular citizen actually the people in Sudan actually try to help them. Right now we have a president who he makes Biden look like he was amazing in some ways, which is crazy to me because Biden was a very, very average, basic president who did some bare minimum stuff. At least something positive he did, especially for unions and social security benefits. And it's sad that Trump makes someone like him, who's just an average politician at best, look like he was freaking great. And people are not realizing this, the ones who vote for Trump, but they've been literally losing a lot of benefits. They have to pay so much more now for all types of goods and services because of tariffs that Trump has implemented. And those prices are not going to go down. They're going to stay up. They're going to keep staying high at the high price. They're only going to go up and not going to be lowered. If you want this price to lower, stop voting for people who support tax breaks for the rich and the wealthy. That would be a start. Vote for people who don't use APEC money to be able to win campaigns. That's the next step, right? It's very basic things, but people have to read and be serious about voting. Don't treat voting like you're gambling for which sport team is gonna win. When people do the things and they get pissed off when the team doesn't win, it's a problem, right? Like some people are just happy that Trump won without even realizing anything about his policy, never read anything. There's I'm Republican, I'm happy he won. And you ask them what policy will benefit them, they cannot name any. They will say BS things like, "Oh, Trump is deporting all these undocumented violent criminals, those violent undocumented immigrants," and he's not. Trump is going after regular people who happen to be undocumented, which is a civil action, not criminal action. Keep that in mind. And these people are just going day to day to survive. And undocumented immigrants pay billions of dollars in taxes without getting any government benefits because they're not eligible for federal welfare programs, for instance. Not them directly. The US citizen can be, but not them directly. So if it's federal funded programs, they themselves directly cannot be applied to it, and they don't. And people think they do. So just to give a recourse that this is what happens when you vote, and there are consequences if you don't take voting seriously, and that's what happened in November 2024. It's unfortunate. And now Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, had to deal with all the BS because American citizens didn't take voting seriously. There are 89 million people who did not vote at all in November 2024. What were they doing? They could easily vote for better politicians to Congress, better politicians as a president, right? A better politician for the presidency, which then could have a much better presidential administration, cabinet, right? Oval Office, whatever you want to describe it. The executive branch would be much better. And now we have a horrific option. I'm not a huge fan of corporate Democrats. Kamala Harris is not amazing, but damn it, man, you need to understand that even though Kamala Harris is not what I really want, I'm not gonna let perfection, prevent me from trying to have positive incremental changes. Kamala had policies that would be great for working class and middle class people. She would have done even more than Biden did. She has potential. She had potential doing so much better and improving the country going in the right direction. It's so much easier to pressure Democrats to do the right thing than Republicans. and people forget about that. And things were getting better. Yes, unemployment rate was so high, but it was low. The economy got better, but pure number statistics like that not don't think that matters. I know people were struggling, and there could have been done better ways to approach that the Democratic, the presidential campaign strategy of Kamala Harris. It could be much better, but how do you choose Trump, a felon convicted of 34 felonies, plenty of at least circumstantial evidence that he's a child rapist over Kamala, who is way, way more qualified than he was. And she also had a VP who's way more qualified than JD Vance, Tim Walz, way more qualified than JD Vance, and has a whole background that policies that will actually be useful for the lowest income households. Doesn't make sense to me, right? Why does I understand the Democrat Party needs to be better, but if you're gonna make them force, them to be perfect, why does the Republican Party don't have to be any good? They can be shitty, and people still vote for them. Uh, we had to work on, start from the bottom, work our way up. Incremental positive changes are a good thing. I know it's a slow road ahead when you do that, but that's better than going completely down here, going back to the 1800s. What's the point? We're going backwards, not forward. So we got to think in that sense, in my opinion. That's my 2 cents on the situation with Zelensky and the whole U.S. political climate at the moment. But anyway, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. You could, if you disagree with Zelensky or not. If you agree with him, let me know why. We can talk about, because I think he's right that Russia should not be allowed to take land from Ukraine, and Trump should provide peace deal that does not screw over Ukrainians. And if you disagree, let me know why. I cause a debate with that. If you like this video, like and subscribe. If you're watching this on TikTok, follow us on TikTok. And again, you can support us on Patreon.